Hello, friends, and welcome back to the College Cephalopod Association Grand Finals. It's a smorgasbord doubleheader of Grand Finals that we're going to be bringing you here today. I am Popgun, joined with the lovely and talented Falco Flyer. It's college night for us, us college alums here, Falco.
Yeah, I mean, tons of Splatoon action. I don't know about you, but I've been watching a ton of college football today, too. I'm assuming you have between other Splatoon events that are going on.
Been keeping up
Tonight.
with it.
Yeah. Just plenty of good games. But hey, we're gonna be starting off tonight first with the Splatterdragons from Drexel versus Hofstra Pride from Hofstra College University. I actually had to ask Vapor where they were from because I had never heard of this school before. But they're from New York. These are the two teams who will be going head to head first tonight in the Div 2 finals. So just to talk about this match a little bit, this is going to be a rematch from Week 2 where Splatterdragons took the set 4-2. So a little bit of some good rematch action here. Splatterdragons went 5-0 in their group. Defeated University of Louisiana Lafayette 5-0 in semifinals, and Hofstra Pride went 4-1 in the group, defeating University of California Berkeley 5-1 in semifinals. So both these teams fresh off some fantastic wins, ready to go head to head tonight.
It's always difficult to beat a team 2 times in the same tournament. A little bit of a different story when it's a drawn out season, though. You're not playing them just a couple hours later. You're playing them a week, in this case, maybe a month and a half later. So if you are the team that is coming into this rematch, getting lost before, which is Hofstra here losing 4-2, as you mentioned, Falco, the adjustments that you can make off of that, you got a lot more time to figure out, okay, what did we do that they countered really well? What are some things that we can do to counter them really well? What are some particular maps they feel strong on? When you go back and you VOD review, and thankfully you can VOD review any of your sets now, except when they get eliminated because of patches come out, you got more information to look at. So we'll see if Hofstra can bounce back after losing the Splatterdragons earlier in the tournament, this time in a best of 9. And we're starting off with tower control at Undertow Spillway.
That's right. Let's get our grand finals for Div 2 set up against Splatterdragons versus Hofstra Pride. Taking a look at these comps here. I'm first always looking for the new weapons that were added just days ago into Splatoon 3. But none of these are jumping out at me. We see some weapons that these players are probably pretty comfortable with. We see Hofstra Pride taking a very quick early cap, getting on the tower, getting some picks as well. Look at this machine just spawning these jumps in too, as this tower is now in momentum for Hofstra Pride, pushing all the way to the first checkpoint.
Yeah, none of the new weapons that came out or versus the weapons that are already in the game don't have a second variant. The only one is the Custom Junior, but it's hard to sacrifice that big bubbler on tower for Wavebreaker and Torpedo that Custom Junior has. So yeah, I think it's just everybody using their comfort picks at this point, and it's working out really well for Hofstra. Again, we talked about them losing before. Now they're all their way to clearing this third and final checkpoint. It looks like the bow's able to shut it down for at least now, and that is a Respawn Punisher bow coming out. And somehow the Splatterdragons hold on to this third checkpoint, and I can't believe this. It looked like this match was going to be over in a minute.
Yeah, it really did, but the machine there was in such a good position, splatting members of the Splatterdragons. Unfortunately, they are going to go down at the third checkpoint, but you can't argue with an opening push like that, especially this early in the game. But look at this counter push now by the Splatterdragons, getting 3 players down, breezing past this first checkpoint too. Many of their players are already pushing up. We see the Blaster there with the Wavebreaker. We see the Tetras trying to find their way to push up as well. Going to be using that, using the Reach Arc to try and push up. Unfortunately, not going to get any splats, but this is a very good counter answer by the Splatterdragons.
Yeah, 3 players still alive versus 2 from the side of Hofstra. You got the Blaster over here providing a lot of pressure and forcing the rest of the Hofstra Pride players to back off. The Blaster finally gets taken care of But even if they don't find a way to clear this third checkpoint, it looks like they won't right here. This is basically a tie game. Falco, only 2 minutes have gone off the clock, and we're at 27-13 remaining on both sides.
Yeah, it just goes to show when you have the momentum, you have the tower, you have any sort of player advantage, you can capitalize on that and try and start a lockout phase. But now we do see this neutral game with paint really favoring neither team at the moment. So, you know, if it continues to go like this, Hofstra Pride, they're going to be sitting in a good position, having the win. But like you said, the benefit for Splatterdragons right now is they don't have any checkpoints, additional checkpoints that they have to get to other than that last checkpoint if they want to keep up the pressure and get this win. So they were really close. The tower is pushing there, but unfortunately they couldn't quite make it happen right now.
Yeah, and here's the question for Hofstra. Again, you're coming in here as the underdog. You want to win this one. If you win game one, you get control of the momentum going out throughout the set. What is your in-game condition here? Do you try to just bleed out the 2-minute clock? Do you go for the KO? I think it's a combination of both. I think you want to keep the tower on the enemy side of the map, wait around, just let it kind of sit in that top left corner over there. And when you get the right opportunity to ride it all the way out to that third checkpoint, you take it. But I don't think you try too hard to hit a home run, and I don't think you surrender too much ground. A lot of yellow right now, and that's going to work out in Hofstra's favor as just 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go.
Yeah, to your point, you really just want to know what's happening in the moment. So for right now, Hofstra Pride, they know they have the player advantage. Just push up the tower just a little bit. Get the map control, but don't put yourself in a position that's going to make you uncomfortable. And make sure that you just don't get all of your players down as well. So, like you said, with 1 minute left, they are continuing this pressure. They do have the manpower to do it, but now we see the 2v2 with Splatterdragons trying to stop this push. Unfortunately, going to go down, but we just see these trades, and these trades are only going to favor the winning team. And right now, that is Hofstra Pride as they get past that third checkpoint and approaching the KO.
The Junior using their whole kit to close out that game for Hofstra Pride, using the Splat Bomb to get the nice splat on the blaster behind the tower, and then the bubbler on the tower to seal it. That's exactly why you're not going to see a lot of custom Junior on tower control. Just the overall kit of that vanilla is so strong right there. Hofstra Pride coming in and taking game one, coming up to that huge lead, and did exactly what I said they had to do. Just kind of keep the tower there, wait for the right opportunity, and when it presented itself, they didn't hesitate or waste any time. Took care of business when it was right in front of them. So there you go. Winning game one, and this is a best of 9, so not the best of 7 that we're used to in the regular season. But this is that's a great start for Hofstra Pride. Not just that they got the win there, but they endured that great push that the Splatterdragons threw at them and still found a way to get the KO at the end.
Yeah, anytime you can keep yourself composed, especially when that pressure is going towards you, that shows that you have practice as a team. You know what you're doing. You know how to handle this. And like we said, Hofstra Pride, they did lose to Splatterdragons earlier in the year, 4-2 in their set. So again, teams that have faced each other, and like you said earlier, it was over a month ago, I'm sure too. It's been quite some time at this point. So they've got everything in their wheelhouse to keep up the pressure to win this set too. And I mean, the Splatterdragons too, they made that fantastic push as well. So they also have all the utilities at their disposal to make a good push. But looks like we are going to be moving on to Rainmaker Macomart as our second match for today. So we will we'll see who makes the first push, who gets that checkpoint first.
You know, I casted a Splatterdragon match during the regular season, and it was another victory for them 4-2 over their opponent. But that game one, they came out really sluggish in that game one in that set as well, ultimately losing it in pretty convincing fashion. So it's just something where Splatterdragons doesn't really come out the gate with the kind of fire that they show over the course of the set. So I do expect them to bounce back. Maybe not necessarily bounce back and win, but be more competitive from the jump, which you have to be in a mode like this in Rainmaker. Yes, there's checkpoints now that slows things down. That doesn't mean you still can't get KO'd in about 45 seconds if you don't come out with your A game. But we did have some players. We've been told both these teams have a pretty deep roster, and they're willing to switch some players up. That goes into the game planning. with these kinds of tournaments where you know ahead of time who your opponent is and what your maps are going to be. You can kind of line up the rosters and the comps that you have and start planning them out before it actually gets started. So we'll see how the adjustments both teams are going to make over the course of the set is going to affect things.
Yeah, and that, of course, the more players you have at your disposal, the better situated you can be for anything too. It's a matter of getting everybody in when they want to play, when they're ready to play, and I'm sure some of these teams, I don't think all of the players, but most of them are likely all in the same area when they're playing too. That's kind of the benefit of the CCA. You guys are a part of a university. You are close, like in proximity wise, you are close to each other. You can have that communication that you can't have elsewhere in competitive Splatoon.
Yeah, I would hope they're somewhere near. I would assume both these teams are going to have their finals next week. If not the week after. It should be next week. It's been a while since I've had to deal with that. I still get the nightmares of it though. But regardless, the I believe Turple was on the Blaster last time. Now opted to go with the Stamper with the Zipcaster as they rush their way towards mid. And no Splatling from the side of Hofstra Pride. Instead, they got a CDS as their longest range weapon.
Yeah, but look at this. We do have a new weapon from the update. We have the Splattershot Nova on the side of the
Oh,
Splatterdragon.
yeah.
So, very interesting choice too. And look at this quick wipeout, getting past that first checkpoint already by Hofstra Pride, dunking that in. You know, it's hard. The wipeouts, or I'll say the checkpoints, really slow down the pace of the game. If this was Splatoon 2, Hofstra Pride may have gotten the K already, but no, they had to get the dunk. They had to get the double pop situated. But look at this, an early push to 24. Can't argue with that.
How did Grace not land any of those splats? Just some unfortunate timing. They were set up for a great triple right there. And that opens the door for the KO possibility. And there it is. Hofstra Pride up 2-0 on the Splatterdragons, who have yet to waken up.
Yeah, you are able to sneak that Rainmaker past all of the players. You need to do everything you possibly can to get the dunk when you have the pressure like that. In the situation that Hofstra Pride were in, they didn't need to win their 1v1s. They just needed to have one player make a break for it, try and get that dunk. And yeah, this Splatana Stamper, they were the only ones who could catch them. But unfortunately, Splatana Stamper, you don't really have the range. You don't have the quick movements to try and get the splat when you need to. So just being sneaky, that's what worked out for Hofstra Pride.
When I play in Ludi sets that are best of 9, and we go into a match against an opponent that we're probably not favored to play against, and we come out and we win 2 games with that big win in a minute in that second game, if I'm Hofstra Pride, I'm trying to get this third game started right now. I'm spamming whoever's controlling that lobby. Get the game up. Get your subs in. Let's go. Let's ready up. I want to get into that third game as fast as possible because I don't want our opponent to start figuring out what they're doing wrong. I want them to be confused. Splatterdragons are left scratching their head right now looking for answers, and you don't want to stall and give them more time to figure out what they're missing.
Yeah, you really need to just get the ball rolling if you're Hofstra Pride. You got the win. You don't want, like you said, you don't want them to figure it out. You don't want Splatterdragons to figure out what went wrong. You just want to get thrown in the action, maybe catch them off guard just a little bit, and try and do the same thing once again. But we will be moving on to Clan Blitz on Scorch Gorge. Not Rainmaker, but I don't know. You still get that wipe. You can get some good points in here too. So we couldn't even get a good chance to analyze the comps because the game happened so fast. All we did was point out the new weapons that kind of came out. So we'll see if we have more time to do that in this game.
And you know what's frustrating because they're doing all this subbing stuff. You come in, you sub, you get knocked out in a minute, and all of a sudden, well, you got to go right back out because we got to sub out again for our next comp right there. But yeah, you pointed out the Nova, the Splattershot Nova. I didn't know if we were going to see that at all or not. I personally I haven't used it that much, so I don't really know how effective it actually is. I know it's a good long-range support weapon, kind of like a dual squelcher in Splatoon 1, but we didn't get to see it much in action because it was on the side of the Splatterdragons, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So maybe they're just thinking some extra paint to work with that Stamper.
Yeah, that's what you'll need to do. And I know when that weapon came out, some people had kind of differing opinions on what they thought the weapon would be versus how it should actually be played. But like you said, it kind of being that support weapon to get the chip damage is what people seem to use it for. But again, we don't see it very often in comp. I mean, not that comp has changed a lot since the patch came out and the new weapons came out. So, I mean, I'm all for players just playing new weapons, regardless, just to
Well,
kind of get a feel for it. Especially in a best of 9, you have a lot of games at your disposal.
Well, when we've been watching the other tournament going on today, and we see the same 5 weapons used the entire time, it's kind of it's like, oh, hey, there's something other than Splash Machine that can be used here. Game 3, Hofstra Pride trying to go up 3-0 in this best of 9. Splatterdragons trying to stop the bleeding, and we see a ballpoint coming out from the side of Hofstra there, along with the basically the same comp otherwise of what they were using the last time. That Respawn Punisher bow from Riffy's making an appearance yet again here. And if I'm Splatterdragons, again, you're trying to find yourselves here. You have been destroyed in the 30 seconds of both games. You want to come out and be patient and take the opportunities that are presented to yourself. And that's exactly what Turple did. But look on the backside, 2 more players going down.
Yeah, it's going to be real hard for that, especially with the Junior being the only weapon that can paint extremely well for Splatterdragons. So Hofstra Pride, if they win their 1v1s, they're going to be very well situated. And look at that, already throwing a Booyah Bomb at the basket. They don't have a Power Clam ready, but they do have a lot of players applying the pressure. 7 clams on their side right now. It looks like they're going to have to back up and retreat just a little bit as the bow player is in a good position to try and stop a push. But no, look at this, Saint from Hofstra Pride trying to push up, and we also see the Knot and the Brush there as well. 2 of them are going to go down, so Hofstra Pride trying to push up, don't have the claim economy to do so, and they are going to suffer by forcing the rest of their players to kind of retreat just a little bit.
Yeah, that was a great situation for Hofstra to try to get that same kind of opening push that they've had in the last 2 games. 30 seconds, you're already at the enemy base, but like you said, just didn't have all the clams that ready to go. So they're still getting the same kind of splats they need. They're still getting the map control. It's just the different mode has them slow down a little bit. Maybe not for much longer, as they got the man advantage in the basket open and somebody on the backside gathering up some clams as well.
Yeah, they are now getting these claims in, some splat bombs being thrown by the Splatterdragons, and it looks like one of the players, Grace, the Juniors, in a position to try and throw some bombs to prevent these pushes. 3 players are now going to go down on Hofstra Pride. They are going to get to 65, so not quite the double power claim push that you want to have on your opening push, but compared to game 2, I would take that if I'm Splatterdragons. Take that as an opportunity to regroup, get mid, make sure you're in a position to get a better push than what Hofstra Pride did, and you will be better situated.
Yeah, all you need is 2 power clams, and you've got the lead right now. Still 3 minutes left to go, plenty of time. You just want to be patient. Again, you want to take the opportunities that are presented to you right now. You don't want to try to force anything. It's way too early in the game to be doing that. But you do have a lot of clams built up. It's just a matter of, can you now get the splats to start pushing up? We see Captain N running in with the Zipcaster trying to make a play happen on the from the defending team, and ultimately doesn't get anything. But on top of it, look, they do force all the Splatterdragon players to back up. So yeah, no splats, but they're able to capture the field space anyways.
Yeah, and that's what's important too. But look at this now, 3 players are going to be going down for Splatterdragons. We see just so many 1v1s here, and that's tricky when you're holding a power claim. You don't have all of your players alive. You're going to have a hard time making that push as you try and push forward. So it's going to be hard for Splatterdragons to keep this up if they want to get the push. But again, it's about just getting in a good position, winning your 1v1s, and potentially, maybe even at this point, sneaking in that power claim, because it's been hard for Splatterdragons to push forward.
Yeah, and this is your chance right here. You got the man advantage. You know where the brush is. You got the brush on the run and a wave breaker on the enemy side of the map. I've been talking about the Dragons need to be patient and take the opportunities that are presented to them. Well, this is an opportunity. They need to go, and finally they are able to do that, popping the basket, throwing in some more clams. Surely they'll get lead right here. The question is, will they get more on top of it, as Hofstra is starting to spawn right back in, and now you're starting to see the Splatterdragons take off. You got the Blaster up here doing a good job of taking the fights away from the basket, allowing the rest of their teammates to gather up some clams as the Nova's the last one left alive. Not going to try to force the issue. Instead, it's going to hold back and control mid. And with a minute left to go, finally the Splatterdragons show some life in the set.
Yeah, and that is a huge win for them right now. Being able to contest with Hofstra Pride, especially, like we said, after Games 1 and Game 2, able to get that single push all the way to 44 this late in the game makes it that much more important. And we've seen kind of stalemate matches on this stage in particular, too. So, again, if you're Splatterdragons, you just need to play defense now. Be aware of where the Power Clam player is. Be aware of anybody potentially trying to flank so that Power Clam can jump to them. And right now we see this Brush being aggressive, pushing up towards the basket. A bubble now being used by Splatterdragons as a defensive mechanism. And a Booyah Bomb, it looks like the Junior's trying to go forward. It's just Machine who's alive now. Can they get this Power Clam in? They can, but it's going to be hard because they don't really have much follow-up. It looks like the Ballpoint was the only person who was alive, but no, they're not going to get any follow-ups. Just such a missed opportunity and a really good defense by Splatterdragons.
Yeah, if they pick up that Power Clam and just run back with it, they had all that map control in mid. You just wait for your teammates to spawn back in. You jump in, you go together. You got a great opportunity to get something going there. Instead, just a little bit of tournament nerves, a little bit of a misplay, and that's credit to Splatterdragons for putting them in that situation anyways. Speaking of the Splatterdragons, I like how they played that third game. The set was getting way out of control for them, and usually when that happens, you'll start seeing a player or two try to make a hero play, try to play a little bit above themselves to start getting a double or a triple out of nowhere and blow the game wide open. Instead, you saw them all take their responsibilities. Look, we know where we need to be. Let's wait for the other team to make the mistake. And when the window is presented to us, we don't hesitate. We go. A very disciplined win from the Splatterdragons, who stopped the bleeding and are going into a game 4 with an opportunity to tie this one up.
Yeah, like you said, if you go down 3-0 in a set, that is hard to recover from. It's not as bad as going down 4-0 in a best of 9, but the sooner you can get that first win, the better. You need to set the momentum in your favor. And like you said, it was just the patience from the Splatterdragons that made them perform the way they did. So, good. I mean, good job for them. But, it was hard. They took their time to get that push. And again, getting that first push all the way to 44 is what sealed the deal. And they just had the coordination in their favor for that game. But now we will be moving on to game 4 here. Splat Zones at Hagglefish Market.
If you're Hofstra, the one thing you want to look for here is continuing your dominance in the first 30 seconds of every match that you've played so far. The only reason they didn't find a way to blow the doors open in the last game is because they couldn't have the clams yet. They didn't know where they were. They had everything else necessary. They're dominating the first 30 seconds. And if you're Hofstra, I think if you can find ways to continue to do that, you're going to be just fine over the course of this set. You want the Splatterdragons constantly playing from behind because it's extremely stressful. And when you got a long set like this, you want the other team to be stressed the entire time. That eats away at you and sets you up for failure in games 8 and 9 if it goes the distance like that. I'm sitting here spouting the mind games. I know Ludi's coming back up around the corner. It's a different tournament from everything else when it's just the best of 9 you get to prepare for. So Hofstra just needs to keep up the aggression in the first 30 seconds, and that's going to set them up for success throughout the entire course of the set, not just this game.
Yeah, and kind of the benefit too, even though it is a best of 9, these teams, like we said earlier at the beginning of the broadcast, these teams have a week to prepare for this situation. They haven't been playing this other team, or maybe they've been like scrimming or practicing, but they haven't been playing the same tournament up until this point for 4 hours straight, like we're used to seeing prior to a grand finals. So anytime, any opportunity you can do that research to research the team, analyze VODs of your VODs, the VODs of your opponents, is all going to work out in your favor.
Yeah, and make sure you spend some time studying for your exams next week as well. What's more important, the CCA or getting past that calculus class so you never have to take a math class again? Who knows?
I don't know about you. I did Calc 3 and I hated it and I regret it. So I wish I was done at Calc 1, but
Nope. Took a business major degree, sport management, didn't need any math. Took one class, got it over with, never touched it again. Hofstra Pride's hoping to not have to touch Hagglefish again as they try to get the win right here to go up 3-1. Splatterdragons trying to tie the set. That is a Hydra Splatling rearing its ugly head for the side of the Splatterdragons. Rifty dropping the bow in favor of it.
Yeah, and we also see the splash. We're going to see the crab come out for Hofstra Pride, too. So more on the side of backline for Hofstra Pride, or I'm sorry, for Splatterdragons that we see, but with the heavy, too, coming out for Hofstra Pride. So, yeah, both teams opting for Splatlings, both teams still opting for Juniors. So Booyah on each side as well. I don't want to say mere comps, but maybe closer to mere specials at this point. But with that, Hofstra Pride actually got a pretty early cap and kept up the pressure, getting all the way to 66. Kind of slipped my mind a little bit. I was a little distracted by some of the gameplay, too. So Splatterdragons now able to get that counter cap, allowing themselves a little bit of time to push up, as we do see now the 3v3 with them unfortunately losing some more paint to Hofstra Pride as they throw the Booyah Bomb and push up a little bit.
I was distracted by Hofstra Pride actually using a meta weapon. That kind of out of nowhere, all of a sudden we got a Splash-O-Matic, but it's not helping them their case right now as Splatterdragons have finally got themselves established and controlled in the set. Yeah, Hofstra Pride won the first 30 seconds yet again, but the Splatterdragons are starting to endure now. They're starting to find ways to bounce back after losing the opening 30 seconds. But Hofstra Pride doing a good job of working this angle, sending two players to attack that left flank. Nobody attacked the right one, and you can kind of set up a pincer through mid. A great way for them to get control of zone. The question is, can they create a lockout right now? Because there's a lot of pressure that Splatterdragons can throw out from their own side of the base. Look at Hofstra backing up, saying, nah, we're going to give up at least your guys' side of the map, and we'll try to fight you in mid.
Yeah, they wanted to win the 1v1s, like you said, when they pinched them over to that left side. But unfortunately, when they're trying to push forward, nope, they see the Hydra. We can't contest that. We don't want to. We don't want to mess with that. So Splatterdragons now able to take the zone. Again, a lot of penalty points on both sides. They're going to be back in control again with a 2-player advantage, 3-player advantage at that. The Junior's going to be pushed back. The Blaster's now chasing them down. Can they get them? But this is Splatterdragon's opportunity to now push up as they have more paint at their disposal. 2 players are already going to be pushing up on the plat, and that's going to be really good because now it's just the heavy who's alive. So Splatterdragons looking to chip away at their penalty points. Wavebreaker versus Wavebreaker adjacent to each other. And we do see, it looks like the Splash was trying to get a flank. Junior's also trying to get a flank. Will they be able to cap the zone? No, 3 are going to go down. This is looking really good for Splatterdragons.
Yeah, and they're definitely going to get the win right here and move on to game 5 with the set tied at 2 apiece. Turple been playing. Everybody. Oh, wait, what? What? How'd that happen?
Well,
all right. Well, the game goes on a little bit longer at least, but fair enough. I was just about to compliment the spacing of the Splatterdragon. Somehow they just lose control of zone without really losing anybody on top of it. So we'll take it back from square one. We'll extend this out a little bit longer. But if they don't find a way to break through this formation of Turple up front, Rifty in the back, and everybody else just kind of taking care of things in mid, Hofstra is not going to stay in this one much longer. Although they are finding ways to poke zone a little bit more.
Yeah, they need to do everything that they can to try and just break in without being way too aggressive that you get a wipe. Because that's what's really going to start the lockout phase for Splatterdragons if they want to do it again. But look at this. Every time Splatterdragons gets to 1, Hofstra Pride ready to throw all the paint towards the zone. Unfortunately, this time it's not going to work out. So Splatterdragons getting that win, I think it just came down to the 1v1s at the end, and they had a majority of the map, I'll say, during the last 2 minutes of that match. They were able to keep some paint even on Hofstra Pride's side, so that Hofstra Pride knew the only opportunity they could have to get the zone is to just rush forward in a straight line, try and get the cap, but that's going to make it so obvious where you are. So Splatterdragons, a great win, again, to tie up the set.
Yeah, and when you have map control like that, it allows you to get into the spaces you need to be, which is where Splatterdragons understands. They understand where their Blaster needs to be, where their Hydra needs to be, where the Junior needs to be. They understand everything they need to do to win. And when you've got a win under your belt, like they do in Game 3, and you come into this one not limping, but with an understanding. Okay, now we're settled down. Now we're under control, and they start playing disciplined like they are supposed to. That sets them up for success, and that's probably what's going to give them the edge going forward in the set is the fact that they finally woke up and figured out, oh right, this is how we're supposed to play the game here, so let's just do that. For Hofstra Pride, though, again, to their credit, they are still the better team in the first 30 seconds, and it's gotten them 2 wins up to this point. You want to keep pushing that narrative. You want to keep chipping away at the start of the game, because Splatterdragons have had to come back in all 4 of these games so far, only finding ways to get wins in 2 of them. So if you keep up that opening pressure, Hofstra is going to be fine. But the Splatterdragons, they're starting to show their discipline right now, and their experience is starting to show in these later games.
Yeah, and again, with a best of 9, you can take these opportunities earlier in the games to just be on edge a little bit and maybe not show all of your cards at once too. Of course, you want to try your hardest the whole time, but you don't want to beat yourself up for kind of losing those games early on because you have more games that you can play. So, again, these games have been very close except for that game 2 Rainmaker. That was kind of a fluke. So, there's more opportunity for both of these teams to win. As we move on to game 5, we're going to be doing tower control, Sturgeon Shipyard, going back to one of our favorite Splatoon 2 maps. And man, I don't know, like, if I liked both comps. I really did. You keep the blaster, you keep the Hydra potentially. I feel like the weapon choices that we have seen so far have generally worked for both of these teams.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that bow coming back out. We do see Riffy staying in for the side of the Splatterdragons. I don't think anybody from Hofstra has been subbing out. I think it's just been the Dragons that have been doing that. It's just a matter of, do they want Anchor or do they not? But if they come back out with that Hydra, the comp that the enemy team had was not very anti-Hydra at all. It was very Hydra friendly. You don't want to see missiles. You don't want to see a charger. You don't want to see too many crabs, which they did have 1 crab, but still, it was easy for Riffy to just kind of get established, set up, and mow people down that last game. But they have been using bow a lot. And this isn't a bad map for bow with all the little arcs that you can shoot things around and through. So we'll see what they do with that. But again, from Hofstra Pride, it just comes down to, can you get your... If they do Splatling again, can they get their Splatling set up in that snipe area so that they can walk that catwalk area with the speed that that a Splatling has, and get established and set up a good offense in the first minute?
And we'll see as we take a look at these comps. We'll see if they are sticking. It looks like members of Hofstra Pride, they will be sticking with similar weapons. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty identical to what we've seen. We do see the machine back out. I don't think DKL played that in the previous game. So that's going to be a different choice too. But yeah, like you said, get the Hydra on the catwalk, get them in a good offensive position when you have the tower moving, and you're going to be set up for victory.
Yeah, and a ballpoint on the enemy side as well. That's not a respawn Punisher ballpoint, but this is gonna find ways to push that Hydra back. Oh, they actually get the splat on him.
That was perfect timing.
Zipcaster rarely works against Hydra, but when you go up at that bottom point and the Hydra's not looking at you, then yeah, the Hydra, you catch him off guard and you force him back. But again, Hofstra Pride, can they find a way to get past this first checkpoint? It's only Grace that's near the tower. Why are they not riding the tower? Get on there, ballpoint. Finally gets back on, and what? They don't clear that checkpoint. What were they scared of?
Yeah, you're so close to that checkpoint. You want to do everything you can to stay on, especially since you got halfway through it too. It's one thing if you're alone and you're not near a checkpoint on the tower, then that's an opportunity to pass or to jump off. But you need to take advantage of that timing and get on the tower to get past that checkpoint, because it's gonna be hard. It might bite you in the butt on the way back. As we see now, look at this counter push by Splatterdragons. They are going to be the ones who are trying to get past this checkpoint, but no, they're not going to be able to do it either.
I'm just thinking, what did they see? They must have felt some presence of something that wasn't there. Because when we pulled up the overview, it was just a junior. Who cares? But they must have thought somebody was coming around the backside. And that's going to cost them a whole checkpoint lead right now. So the Splatterdragons take advantage of that. They clear their first checkpoint. And now it's just Grace left alive on the tower, trying to sneak out a few more points before wisely backing off, holding on to a big bubbler as well that they're going to have to use on the defensive end as the rest of Hofstra Pride jumps back in here. But look, a little bit of a miscue. There's still tons of time left on the clock. You're just down by one checkpoint. If you can get back to where you were, you'll find ways to get through it. But Grace has been a menace. Their presence and actual playing ability have just been a thorn in Hofstra's Pride so far in this game.
Yeah, Grace has been all over this map, and like you said, good movement, knowing when to push the tower, knowing when to jump off, and look at this paint, look at the control by the Splatterdragons, thanks to Grace, too, using that junior. So this is now going to be a push for Hofstra Pride to push forward. They are going to be trying to push some of these members out. The brush is now going to go down, I believe, to the Hydra, as tower is now at mid. Hofstra Pride, that's not a good booyah spot for them, unfortunately.
That's that just happens. You can do that in Anchovy in the other game too. They used to frustrate the heck out of me. But so far, again, Hofstra Pride, you're just down by one checkpoint. You got the man advantage right here. Can they keep the players on the tower? It seems like whenever there's just a bomb thrown in the general direction, somebody ducks for cover here. It's just a matter of can the machine stay on? And there's nobody within a country mile of the tower now, and they finally cleared that checkpoint. They're probably going to find a way to get lead too is here.
Yeah, it looks like they are, and they do in fact take the lead. Again, we see the aggression from the brush player on Hofstra Pride, trying to lock out some of these Splatterdragon members, and they are going to be getting past. I believe they get past that second checkpoint, so that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
That is really going to be huge for them. So Splatterdragons now needing to push forward, but Hofstra Pride keeping up the pressure, just needing to avoid some of these bombs, getting the maybe GG Booyah bomb with one of their players alive. Are they able to stay on and get it? It is just now the ballpoint who's on the tower, and they win the 1v1 to win this game.
And that is for Hofstra Pride, they got to be really happy with the way that they won that one, because that's the first time where they surrendered a lead and had to come from behind. So being able to say, okay, once we lose a lead going forward, we know this game's not over. We know how to bounce back. And yeah, that miscue that they had at the beginning of the game as well, be able to bounce back from that, not being able to find a way to clear that first checkpoint when they absolutely should have done so. To be able to bounce back from all of that and get a win is huge for them, not just because they're up 3-2, but just because they can mentally prove to themselves that they can win in multiple ways.
Yeah, and I think it especially came down to that last play. You had the 1v1 with the ballpoint. If they would have lost that 1v1, this game would still be going on, likely to overtime. I would imagine the tower would be going back to mid, and Splatterdragons would be having to make a counter push to try and get the knockout. But when you're able to apply the pressure, as Hofstra Pride did, like you said, they know that they can do it. We've seen both of these teams come back from multiple points thrown at the enemy team's way and able to kind of respond on their own push. It just worked out in Hofstra Pride's favor for this specific game. But we will be now moving on to Game 6. And remember, this is a best of 9, so first team to 5 is going to get the victory. We will be moving on to Rainmaker Eeltail Alley.
Yeah, and this is a clutch game. You want to go up 4-2. And keep in mind, this used to be best of 7 sets. Hofstra Pride only won twice against these guys last time. Now they've won 3 in 5 games. So this is we talked about the adjustments they needed to make. They've been making the right adjustments right now, and it's been working out very well into their favor. Rainmaker Eeltail Alley, you want to clear that first checkpoint, and if it's there to go across the glass, you can do it, but it's usually very difficult to do that way. You don't see a lot of teams, though, try to opt to go away from that glass or on that right side up the ramp. Instead, they just kind of, in a moment, hold forward, unga bunga, I'm going to force this Rainmaker through this glass no matter what. So we'll see what these teams try to do at that point. But again, it's the same story we've had so far. Who wins the first 30 seconds? Splatterdragons have yet to do that. 0-5 in the opening moments of the game. in all 5 games so far. They can't go 0-6 like that. They got to come up with some sort of better opening right now.
Yeah, but look at the map or the mode that we're doing is where the first 30 seconds could potentially be the most important if you can get to that first checkpoint and then some too. So if Hofstra Pride repeats exactly what they did for game 2, I mean they're going to be sitting pretty going into into the next few games. And but yeah, Splatterdragons need to just be aware of the positioning too. You don't have to get the pop, but you just don't want to get the wipe that will seal the deal for Hofstra Pride getting that first checkpoint.
And yeah, I guess if you're Splatterdragons, you just want this game to last more than a minute. Which, when the length of that this math is more linear than Mako Mart, probably a little bit better of an opportunity to make this game last a little bit longer here. But yeah, those openings look very promising as Hofstra's trying to go up 4-2 here, keeping basically the same comp we've been seeing up to this point. Switchboy coming out with the Nova as they get rid of their anchor player, Riffy, instead looking to go with just a basically a double Slayer, double support kind of comp.
Yeah, and you know, I really like Killer Whale for this specific mode too, because sometimes you might not be in a good position. Hey, there's the
Whoa,
pop
what?
from Splatterdragons that you
What?
were talking about. But like it's good because you can target it at the Rainmaker. Maybe you're not in a position to get to them. And look at this pop gun. Look at that early dunk. Just the change of pace from what we'd seen in the first Rainmaker game.
And now's the question. Okay, they're not even going to get an opportunity to pick it up, and this is what I was talking about in the lead up to this game. Once you get to this first checkpoint, where do you go? And we'll have to answer that question for Splatterdragons later. But who cares? They won the first 30 seconds. They got a wipeout. Hofstra Pride, though, starting to bounce back. 2 players taken down by the Rainmaker, and they're going to go for this lower checkpoint. And 1 player that right there to shut that down before it gets too far. But the Splatterdragons flipping the script and finally show some life in the first opening moments of the game.
Yeah, and if they can keep this up, they're going to be sitting pretty well. But look at this. Hofstra Pride now opting to go for the upper checkpoint.
Uh-oh.
They are able to get the dunk. So unfortunately for them, they don't have the lead, but they definitely have a player advantage. They are going to take the lead right here, taking it on the glass. And look at this push. Unfortunately, going to be going down to one of the bombs that were thrown on the glass. It's a blessing and a curse when you take it up that top way. It's great because you get closer, it seems like, to the final podium, but you got to go on that slick. It's hard, but look at this. They are the get past the slick. The Inkjet now moving off to the side to try and splat some more players who are trying to splat by the Rainmaker. And the Ballpoint did a great job staying alive that whole time. But now Splatterdragons applying more pressure. This might be the end of the push unless we see a flank by a Brush player getting 2.
Oh my goodness.
They are going to
my
pick up the
goodness.
Rainmaker, but no, now going to go down.
And it's still not... Okay, where's the Ballpoint at? The Ballpoint's back in mid. I see him flopping around at the mid spot right there. Okay, so those 4 extra points they got is massive. So now it's not just the Splatterdragons have to get across that glass bridge. They have to go a smidgen further, and you have to fight for every single inch that you get across that thing. But it's going to be easy to do when you only got 1 player left alive. You can't go down here if you're the dualies. Wisely, they're going to back up, wait for their teammates to come in and go in and shut this down together. But Splatterdragons, they got a long way to go, but if they can get some splats right here, all of a sudden the floodgates open for them to get the lead right back.
Yeah, it really does too, and they are maybe going to push back where they were, trying just ambushing this these Squelcher players. Now going to go down just shy of their 51 that they pushed it, but now they're in a position they need to win the 1v1s, have a few players push up, pave the way along the glass. But it's going to be hard now. It's just the Blaster alive who's going to have to retreat. Unfortunately, they don't have much paint to work with. And we do see one of the players just trying to chase him down. Ballpoint is going to be taking down the Nova. Tetra's going to be taking down the Ballpoint. So a lot of trades here, but trades at this stage of the game are just going to be favoring the winning team.
Yeah, Splatterdragons are jumping into a player who clearly was not safe. That's a play you usually make when there's 10 seconds left on the clock, not when there's 1:45. There's still a ton of Rainmaker left to be played right here. I don't think you need to be selling all the way out to try to get lead up to this point. Again, be patient, wait for the opportunities to present themselves, and instead, that over-aggressiveness is going to open up the door for Hofstra Pride to grab that Rainmaker and push it back into the enemy side of the map. Or they could just opt to hold on to it and try to get some more map control, as DKL is just destroying everybody who's getting anywhere close to this little bridge area right here.
Yeah, getting great picks, just keeping up the pressure. Much needed at this time with just a minute remaining, but now it's just the Dooley Squatches who are alive. They are going to be picking up the Rainmaker. I don't know if that's the best decision.
Where are they
at this
going with
point.
it?
But the Rainmaker is now pretty much going to be reset back to where it should be. So Splatterdragons, again, need to get map control right now, need to locate these members. Thankfully, they do have a wave breaker to use as a point sensor and to locate some of these Hofstra Pride members as well. But this has to be the push. Unfortunately, Grace is going to go down. I think it may have been a bomb. I'm not really sure
Yeah.
what got them. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was thinking the same thing. Like, there's nobody around there. It wasn't a trade, but so be it. This is the one player you don't want to get comfortable right now. It's Turple, who's leading the way for all of these pushes. Able to get a nice splat there on Saint, but the Rainmaker is still safe. Now it's just a question of what are they going to do? Oh, I don't think you want to force it right there. Oh, that gets instantly shut down and the game's over. That's what I was talking about. It's so hard to go across that glass. You want to wait for the opening, and it just wasn't there. Trying to force something that just wasn't there. And that Hofstra Pride, for the first time, back-to-back wins have been a little bit unorthodox for them. They came from behind in the last game. This one, they got beat up in the opening minute, and they still bounced back from that as well. They got to be feeling really confident now that they can put this one away in the next game.
Certainly, and they have 3 games where they have an opportunity to do this. I want to go back to that last play with the Splatterdragons. It's hard because when you approach overtime, you are very anxious. You want to do everything you can do to get the lead, but you have to be patient, especially on that slick spot. The hard part, too, is they had the players who could push forward and pave the way, but when you have the Rainmaker, you have to like put on a different cap. It's like, okay, I was an aggro player pushing forward. Now I have the Rainmaker. I need to pull back. I need to have my team pave the way for me. And like you said, it wasn't even getting too past the slick spot. It was pushing even further beyond that. So there's kind of a lot of things that you have to process to make that push. Unfortunately, Splatterdragons just didn't have an opportunity to do so.
And again, we saw them jumping in with 1:45, trying to force something to happen right there, and just didn't really have the patience at the end of the game that they needed. So that was a lack of patience in a very undisciplined game from what we've seen from the Splatterdragons up to this point. And again, that's credit for Hofstra for putting them in that situation. We've been talking about the mental game that goes on over the course of a long set like this, and Hofstra being the more aggressive team constantly. That might have been taking a toll on Splatterdragons now as we get later into this set. You got to win 3 in a row against this kind of team. If this was a best of 7, Falco, the score would have been flipped. Splatterdragons won 4-2. Now Hofstra Pride has come back out and won 4-2 themselves in this. If it was a best of 7, luckily for Splatterdragons, still best of 9. But Hofstra has vastly improved in this rematch here. And we're gonna go to Clam Blitz at Hammerhead Bridge.
Yeah, last time we saw Clams was on Scorch, where we saw Splatterdragons trying to make pushes, but didn't really have the clamps to do so. They were doing great with the 1v1s, but ultimately, they did win at the end, but they had those opening pushes that were just tricky to work with. So again, it's all about learning your mistakes from the previous games. It's about learning what the other team has been using and what to counter. Now's the point in the set, and it may have been even a few games prior, where you realize, okay, this player is sticking with this weapon. This player only plays these 2 weapons. What can I play? What am I comfortable with that can counter that, so I don't always get splatted by the Hydra, so I don't always get caught off guard by the Junior? Do I have anything in my pocket that I can make happen and get these picks and help get the win? So there's just a lot that both of these teams are thinking about right now.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have much more time to be thinking. The entire tournament that's been going on for a couple of months now is now at championship point. One more win from Hofstra and the whole thing is over. And what a great win this would be for their for their program, for their team right now to eventually to come back over the Splatterdragons. I don't think Splatterdragons have lost a single set the entire series.
No, they went
No, they
5-0
lost
in
one.
their yeah. Uh, I mean, yeah, they Splatterdragons, yeah, they went 5-0 in their group. And they
Yeah.
even won their semifinals 5-0. So they came into this final match very, very prepared. I would say very prepared. Of course, when you win 5 matches to win a set, you don't play the maximum number of games, which would be 9, which we could very well see happen here. So yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Hofstra Pride. This is the only team that's beaten them the entire season as well. They were 4-1. They're only lost to this team. They're currently up 4-2 against. Um, and we do see some subs coming in. I think just from the side of the Splatter Dragons, as I think Race has been the only one to stay in the entire time. If not Turple as well. But I don't know there's a little bit of a delay here going into this final game, but finally it looks like everybody's set and we're going to get going with the weapon selection here. Uh, and again, it just comes down, I sound like a broken record, but it's really been the point of this entire set is just winning the first 30 seconds. It's so important for you. And through the Splatter Dragons, you haven't been able to do that with Riffy in the lineup, with your anchor player. So if they could find ways to get established control of mid this game as opposed to the Rainmaker one, I think that'll work out a lot better into their favor because you can gather up those clams a lot easier. You can do whatever you can do the things you want to do a lot more easy if you have control of mid at the first opening portion of the game. But again, you just now more so than ever since it's tournament point, you don't want to be down. Oh my gosh, we got to come back from a huge hole in this game, and then we got to win the next one, and then we got to win the next one. Like, you don't want to have that mentally take a toll on you, the mountain that you got to climb. You got to take it one step at a time. So, just positive things at any point in this game is going to pay off huge dividends for the Splatter Dragons because Hofstra wants to end this right now. They don't want to, they know what the Splatter Dragons are capable of. They've lost to them before. They don't want to give them any kind of opportunity or any sense of hope that they can get back into this one. And they don't want to lose their own confidence as well.
No, exactly. You that would be a position where it would just be so hard for both of those teams if they were to do that. And I mean, we've seen how well both of these teams play against, like we said, Splatter Dragons going up 5-0, but now down in the set, needing to get the 3 games in a row if they want to win. It's all to start with this one right here, Clam Blitz on Hammerhead. So let's see. Let's see if they have it in them.
X-Splosh is going to be coming back out. And there's the bow as well from Riffy. And there's one player who forgot to plug in their Ethernet cord, I'm assuming. So we're going to have to end the battle and redo this one here. Unfortunate situation with that. It was a little bit of an extended opening there,
Yeah.
but you know what? It's when I was at school, you could not get away with playing on the campus
Oh God.
internet. Now
No.
that was like a decade and a half ago, but still, this is I know college internet. Thankfully, there hasn't been any issues up to this point, so hopefully, it's just something somebody can fix, and we'll be right back to where we were.
Yeah, I remember we had a separate it was a separate connection for gaming. I lived in the engineering dorm, so naturally there are a lot of gamers there, and even they struggled to play some games. But hey, back when we were in college, Splatoon wasn't really a thing either. So
No, it was Modern Warfare 2 that my roommate was playing.
yeah, I didn't play any games except for Smash, like couch style, but yeah, no online games, but hey, we love to see the scene grow, and like we mentioned earlier, and this has been brought up, I think, many times, but CCA, this is the second season. The first time, correct me if I'm wrong, Popgun, but we had what, like 10 teams, less than 10 teams play, and we have 60 now. Wait, like, which is insane.
Yeah, it's I forget how many they had last season, but yes, the number of teams in different universities they have representing this year is just kind of mind-boggling. But the CCA team's been very aggressive in expanding their tournament here. Everybody's back into the lobby. No awkward extended scenes, and it seems like everybody's going to be shooting out of their little toaster ovens. So we're going to be going on here to Game 7, tournament on the line. And again, I didn't get to talk about this, but the X-Splosh, that is a Respawn Punisher X-Splosh coming out from the side of Hofstra that's going to be trying to force everybody from Splatterdragons back and try to get some delayed splats here if they can find a way to get any with it. Look how much, again, look how far the Splatterdragons have to push back just because of the pressure of the X-Splosh alone.
Yeah, I mean, the X-Splosh was pushing from their own side, trying to splat members of Hofstra Pride on their side too, chasing the Splatterdragons, I'm sorry. But yeah, he's just keeping up the pressure. But speaking of pressure, look at this push by Hofstra Pride. Already getting to the basket, getting another power clam in as well. Getting down to 57, the Brush getting 2 nice picks. 3 players are now down for Splatterdragons, and this push is still going for Hofstra Pride. Gathering these clams, 2 of these members, it looks like the Explo and the Machine, just trying to get some of these splats. That's going to be a 3rd power clam on this opening push, but it looks like that might be it finally. Hofstra Pride able to form a 4th power clam, but not able to push it up. That is fantastic for Hofstra Pride if they're trying to seal the deal right here in this this potential final game for them.
Yeah, and we're gonna find out how mentally tough the Splatterdragons are right now. Because again, the mountain they have to climb to win this tournament just got a whole heck of a lot steeper, as if you thought it couldn't get any more difficult to climb. But look at them coming back in here right now, trying to make something happen. That Reef Slider doesn't accomplish anything. In fact, they actually lose their power clam because of it. But Hofstra's X-Splosh is providing so much presence on the map that the Splatterdragons have nothing to do but to retreat with it. They got to find ways to take care of that X-Splosh from behind and take care of all the splats in front of it. And I guess they're trying to do that with the Reef Slider is what their attempt was to do right there. But they do find a way to take out the X-Splosh right now. So there is an opportunity to start pushing up, and I think you don't waste any time. I think you got to do it now.
Yeah, you really need to take advantage of that and try and push forward. But look at this, Hofstra Pride able to get more map control. Splatterdragons with 2 power claims. What's hard is when you don't have the map control and you have 2 power claims, you're just kind of a sitting duck at this point. You have a permanent point sensor on you, and you are the first target that members of Hofstra Pride are going to be going for. So Grace is going to be pretty bold, trying to push forward, camping this jump with some bombs, not able to get it, but with the help of their teammates and help of some of the specials, they are able to get more control of mid. So hope is not lost for Splatterdragons. Again, they still have some time that they can work with, but Hofstra Pride quickly to counter the pressure and apply some pressure of their own.
I love this machine working in junction with that Zipcaster. Zipcaster being the annoying fly, drawing a lot of attention, and then you got one of the best slaying meta weapons in the game coming around the back door, and there's all the penalty points gone. It's just 19 remaining. Grace being the last player left alive, fighting the X-Splosh at spawn, and lucky for them, the X-Splosh is one of the few players with actual clams ready to go right now. In fact, they're the only player with clams remaining, able to get the respawn punish on Turple, and they're throwing their clams. They just need 2 more to close out the entire tournament, and here they come on the back of the CDS. There it goes. Hofstra Pride avenges their only loss of the season, and they win their division.
Hofstra Pride defeating Splatterdragons, winning 5-2. They are your Division 2 CCA champions. Congratulations to Hofstra Pride. I loved the work with the machine, and like you said, just their coordination on that push, the coordination on the first push that they had too, could not be matched by the Splatterdragons. You have one player who's running alive, who is still alive, throwing clams in, keeping the basket open one at a time. The longer that basket's open, the longer Splatterdragons are going to panic and try and just push forward. So Hofstra Pride, just such fantastic pushes at the end. And good for them for getting the win. Splatterdragons had some really good attempts earlier in the set too. Unfortunately, couldn't pull it off. So with Hofstra Pride winning 3 in a row to win the set, they are, like we said, they're the Year Division 2 champs.
And you combine the themes Hofstra Pride was able to throw out this entire set, being dominant in the opening minute And the fact that they were using X-Blosh in that last game, just combined with their overall aggression, it forced Splatterdragons back, and it completely threw them off. They didn't have an answer for it. It's basically like Hofstra won the game in the weapon selection stage, where that X-Blosh was just the ace in the hole they needed to just completely discombobulate Splatterdragons in that game that they absolutely had to win, and Hofstra putting them away. A very impressive, convincing win. I don't know about you. I didn't see the last set they played against each other. Final results can be misleading to how close things actually are. Sometimes it's a 4-0, but it's like, oh, they all were like come from behind overtime wins. But that one was a pretty convincing showing by Hofstra Pride that they were a strong team today and a rightful champion of Division 2.
Certainly. And in true CCA fashion, they will be finishing out this set, kind of a gentleman's agreement type of agreement that they have set forward. I think it's just something that a lot of these teams have been doing, which is really cool because you are slated to potentially play 9 slots, so you might as well do it. So it looks like we will be doing Splat Zones Museum, but now's the time where the pressure's off. You can just play whatever weapon you want. Of course, like a score of 7-2 doesn't look as good as 2-5. But both of these teams, if you've been keeping up, and everybody in chat too, you know that this the final score could not give you the true story.
You might as well just take some drip picks at this point.
Yeah.
Just get it. Just go into the museum, see who's and we're still waiting for a sub here. So yeah, I guess this is Hofstra who's subbing a player out, or maybe they're thinking of doing a 3v4, I don't know.
Popgun, speaking of picks, have you done the new like snapshot mode in PBC?
No, I haven't. I see people talking about the new camera mode on Twitter. I thought that was spectator mode. It was like, oh, great, they fixed spectator mode finally. No, it's some sort of camera thing.
Hey, I did it. I had a scrim on Thursday. So Bitterling and Radical Dreamers, after our scrim, we did you can only do it in Recon, but the person who hosts the lobby can take pictures basically, and it's this like little drone where you can set up a timer and like position where the camera's going to be, and you're able to like run around and do kind of funny things, add filters. So it's pretty cool, but I don't think we'll be seeing it here, or else we would see the recon options. But just wanted to point that out. It's a lot of fun.
I think we're just gonna have a lot of fun over these next 2 sets here. There's a Splat Zones at the museum. Fair enough. I wonder if, obviously you're ecstatic that you've won the entire division here. If you're Hofstra, but you might still have that a little bit of competitive edge burning into you. But I wonder if their VCs are still going to be going all out trying to win, or just more so just playful, just enjoying the moment, just taking a little victory lap here to close out the season.
Yeah, and again, this is an opportunity to just play whatever weapon you want. Like I would take this opportunity to pick up a weapon that I've potentially never even touched, like one that I bought, maybe like the Dapple Nouveaux or something. I don't know, just to mess around with. Who knows? They could all be coordinating with the same exact weapons as well. They could throw us a curveball, give us a show, but no, it's pretty cool. And I know like we have a double header coming up. We said the second set would be starting at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. Wow, not 9 a.m. Eastern time, but both of these teams know that it's just going to happen after this set. So don't worry, you guys aren't missing any action if you are trying to catch up and watch the final match of the night, which will be Night Sharks from Central Florida versus the Boilermaker Special versus Purdue, or from Purdue.
That's going to be an exciting set to see as well. I guess we'll preview it in a little bit of a minute. We still got to get through this here. Splat Zones at the museum. Again, what kind of...
How about you?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so one team's taking it still kind of seriously, and the other team has won the tournament already. So we see some interesting picks coming out. That is the machine player that is using the V-Jet now, and the gold. I don't even know what's on the gold air display kit. Is that a sprinkler and booyah that's on that thing?
I believe it is. Yeah, it should be. That's again, that's not one. Yeah, Sprinkler Booyah. I have not played that. um, but hey, if I just ended a scrim or just ended a set and we're still playing, I would probably pick that up as well, just to test it out.
You know, there was a point where the PG Booyah Bomb Aerospray in Splatoon 2 was kind of meta on that Splat Zone's Humpback map. I remember FC Win using double Aerospray on that one. There were some times where the vanilla Aerospray worked out in Rainmaker as well. You don't really see either Aerospray being used in competitive much, and it's kind of a shame just because it keeps giving it crummy kits, and I don't know what a good kit for an Aerospray would be, but it puts out a ton of paint. It just can't kill to save its life, but it had a decent kit. It might have a way to be used here or there, but you don't even see low ink teams using Aerosprays.
No,
You'll see a low ink team use anything.
Yeah, it's hard with, like, I think it's a 5-shot weapon that has minimal range too, and like Booyah Bomb's
That's by
great.
tickling, yeah.
Yeah, Booyah Bomb's great, but yeah, when you have Sprinkler on there, it's like, man, if this had, of course, everybody with their, predictions all want Splat Bomb and Burst Bomb and are disappointed when they don't get it. But but yeah, it's just not something we see very often. But look at this, Splatterdragons. I mean, again, they're the ones who did not win the set, so they did not choose specific weapons, but it looks like they will be finishing. Oh no, it looks like Hofstra Pride going to be keeping it alive. Oh man.
Roll. Is that the carbon roller? I don't even know what kind of roller. I think that is the vanilla carbon roller that they got right there. Just kind of slowly rolling things out. Have you played the Swig? I haven't even touched that thing. I haven't heard anything positive, but I want to touch it myself before I make an
I
opinion.
have no desire to pick it up. But
Fair
it's
enough.
one of those things, and like I have to remind myself, if I'm scared of a weapon, I have to play it a few times. Like I gotta know what it's like, what to look out for, what's difficult about it, how I can splat it. Like, again, the best way to learn how to counter a weapon is to play it yourself. But look at this paint from Hofstra Pride, especially with the help of the Aerospray. Is gonna be doing some good work. Splatterdragons now able to get control once again. But now this is just a fun match. This looks like, and I, like, with no disrespect, this looks like a solo queue match. But I would also be doing the same thing if I was just kind of playing for fun.
Playing for fun. Splatterdragons using their main. What the heck's going on there? Okay, that dude just. Oh, was that the Aerospray? I was like, that was landing all those shots. I was like, why are those players not dying? It's like, oh right, it's the Aerospray. The only real difference here is Grace coming off a junior and using this splatter shot here. I wonder if this is just an opportunity for. Okay, something funky was going on there. I don't get what that was. My point being, I wonder if this is an opportunity for Splatterdragons to work out on like what their potential secondary comp could be. Because they use the same thing, except Grace was just switching over to the Tintatech, which does seem to have a place in the meta of competitive Splatoon going forward. So I wonder if they're just kind of working on that, and as opposed to just being silly. But regardless, we got through that. Well, we got one more to go.
I believe, yeah, we should have one more. Yep, we'll have one more before we head to our Div 1 nightcap for the night. Hey, I actually was just checking, speaking of Purdue, since they're playing next, the football team is actually tied with Michigan right now.
Yeah, for now. What is it, the first quarter? Oh, it's the start of the second. Okay.
Yeah. So
there you go. There.
Maybe two Purdue teams can come out on top today. Or,
That's I think one of them will.
Team.
I think one of them will, and one of them is not. And it's the one that's not playing in Indianapolis, Indiana right now. It's the one playing in West Lafayette. We'll see how that goes. We'll keep an eye on both. Actually, they could find a way to kick a field goal and take a lead here. Actually, there's potential there. Regardless,
we got one more match between these two teams, Splatterdragons and Hofstra Pride. Again, Hofstra Pride won the set 5-2 already, but we are playing all 5 just as an agreement between both of these teams. So
okay, I got a question. Is it ironic or intentional that the decisive game 9 was going to take place at the only college themed map in the game. That's
You know,
intentional, right?
potentially, or there's a 1 in 12 chance, because I'm assuming they wouldn't throw in the two new maps that we saw. We haven't seen them in this set,
That's
so
right.
either intentional or a 8% chance that it happened. We'll see.
Fair enough. And you can't go wrong with TC Art Academy. The only map that teams will counterpick nowadays, unless it's not in the map pool, in which point I think both teams just gentlemen to counterpick it in game 2 regardless. So
Well,
we'll
hey,
get
that was
through.
we saw a lot of that in Splatomax last week too.
No, you'll see that in any tournament that has like high level teams in it. For whatever reason, oh, we'll get them here. Well, they'll never expect Tower Control Art Academy. Oh, really? They were gonna pick it too if they lost game 1. Who cares? Regardless, one more of this, and then we will get to Purdue versus the Night Sharks of Central Florida, the team that won. Whenever I think of Central Florida, I think of that one year they went undefeated in football and they claimed they were the national champions, even though they weren't like even close to being it.
Yeah. Didn't they played in a bowl game and lost, right? It was a hard one.
No, they beat Auburn
Oh, okay.
in like some pointless Sugar Bowl game that
Okay.
wasn't playoff related.
Yeah. Well, let's look at here. Looks like your big swig's coming out, Pop Gun. Two of the rollers.
Oh,
Again,
great.
I'm curious to see how it's going to play with the wall and vac.
Those, oh yeah, the swig rollers. Can we get a shot of them? Can we just like fall? I don't even know how those things. Like, what's the point of this thing? It like, what does it do that the other rollers don't? I don't understand. Does it just paint better with the rolling mechanic?
I honestly couldn't tell you. And there's probably some people in chat who are like, Pop Gun Falco, how do you not know this? Well, we just haven't paid attention to it. But a lot of new weapon choices too. Like we have the Nia Blaster 2, who's popping off, getting 2 picks and also using the stamp, trying to push forward. So
I forgot that thing got stamped. It's like, oh, you had to do that. The stamp one. Like, so many weapons got stamped. It was ridiculous so far in the game. But you do see, well, you should see this match not lasting a whole heck of a lot longer here. Yeah, I just don't get what the point of that thing is. I've seen people say it's the worst weapon in the game. I don't know about that. There's some, I mean, Undercover Brell is also in the lobby right now, not really doing a whole heck of a lot still, but yeah, I just don't get what the point of that weapon is in general.
Our stream liaison, the person casting, mentioned to us that it has the best horizontal paint, but horizontal only does 70 max. So,
Oh, okay.
trade-off, I guess.
Well, there you go. You saw it in some sort of competitive fashion. Is that a Star Wars space helmet we see on that player? What was that?
I believe that's the new salmon run.
Oh, you're right. You're right. They got a lot of weird sci-fi related Salmon Run clothing that be going up. All right, we got through that. Congratulations to Hofstra Pride for winning Division 2 of the College Cephalopod Association season. That's a good thing for them. Congratulations all around.
So again, coming up, we have one more match headed your way. It's actually going to be the Div 1 Grand Finals. Special from Purdue versus Night Sharks of University of Central Florida. This is going to be a good game. Before we do that, we're actually going to take a quick break just to allow some of these players to come into the lobby, all that good stuff. So you guys don't go anywhere. You are watching the CCA League on CCA Splatoon.